Hello friends, in this lesson we're going to look at the present perfect verb tense in English. So the present perfect verb tense can be one of the most confusing verb tenses in English for a couple of big reasons. The first reason is knowing when to use it. For example, when we compare the present perfect with the past simple. The other big confusing thing with this verb tense is the form that the main verb takes, because it uses a special form of the main verb called the past participle. And so we'll be looking at both of these things in this lesson. So first, let's talk about what the present perfect verb tense is. So the present perfect verb tense is a verb tense we use to talk about the past, but we're talking about the past in the present. So you can think of the present perfect as the past in the present. The way that we're thinking about the action is that the action is completed or perfect in the present. This is why we call it the present perfect. So you can imagine that we are in the present, we're in now, and we are looking at something in the past or talking about something in the past, and we're thinking that this thing is completed or perfect now. So this is why we call it the perfect. Perfect doesn't mean like it's the best verb tense. It just means that the action is completed in the present. So let's look at some specific reasons for how and why we use this verb tense. And there are four main reasons. The first reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that happened in the past and is related to now. For example, if I say I have lost my keys, then I lost them in the past, but this is important now because maybe I need my keys to start my car, or I need my keys to lock my house or something. So it happened in the past, but it's connected to now or related to now. It's relevant. The second big reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that started in the past and continues until now. For example, I have looked for my keys for over an hour. So I started looking in the past and I am still looking right now. So the action started in the past and it continues until now. The third main reason we use it is to talk about something that happened in the past, but the time that it happened is either not known or it's not important. And we use it to talk about experience. For example, I have lost my keys before. So I've lost my keys before means that this is an experience that I had, but it happened sometime before now. I'm not being specific when it happened because that's not important. What's important is that it's happened before. I've had this experience. The fourth main reason we use it is to talk about something that happened more than once in the past. And again, this is talking about experience. So for example, I have lost my keys 3 times already this week. Now, when did I lose them 3 times? I'm not being specific here because that's not important. What's important is that it has happened 3 times this week. So the reason number 3 and reason number 4 are very similar to each other. It's just that reason number 3, something happened 1 time in the past, but we don't know or don't care when. And reason number 4, it's happened more than 1 time in the past. And so these reasons for using the present perfect are the same reasons that people will often use the present perfect or hear the present perfect, for example, in a job interview. So in a job interview, the interviewer might ask you questions about your experience at other jobs or your experience with training or things like that. For example, have you ever done this job before? Have you ever been fired from a job? Have you ever committed a crime? Have you ever used drugs? Those are all present perfect questions because they just want to know if this has ever happened at any time before now. So when we're thinking about the present perfect, what we're thinking about is that we are living in the present, but we are looking at the past and we're thinking about the past or talking about the past. So this is why I said that the present perfect is kind of like the past in the present. The past as it relates to now. What does it look like? What's the form of the present perfect? So this is the other thing that can be a little bit tricky. For the helping verb, the present perfect uses either have or has. So if you look at these two verbs, These are both the present forms of the verb have. So this is how we know that it's the present perfect. Now, if we're talking about the past perfect, then the helping verb will be had, because had is have in the past. So that's the only difference between the present perfect and the past perfect, is that the present perfect uses have or has for the helping verb. The past perfect will use had, H-A-D. But we're not talking about the past perfect in this video. So the helping verb will be either have or has, and then the main verb will be the past participle form of the main verb, the past participle form. So for example, I have lost my keys. We can see here the helping verb is have because the subject is I. And the main verb is lost, which is the past participle of the verb lose. I can contract this and say I've lost my keys. So all I've done is I've taken the helping verb and I've connected it to the subject of the sentence, and I took off the H and A. So I've lost my keys. And actually, when people are talking, this is the most common form that you'll hear. You'll hear it contracted almost all the time when people are talking. If we're making it into a question, we simply move the helping verb before the subject, like every other verb form. So has she found my keys? Now here we're using the helping verb has because the subject is she. It's third person singular. So we're going to use has with third person singular subjects. So he, she, it. And we'll use have with everybody else. So I, you, they, or we. So has she found my keys? So we can see has is my helping verb and found is the main verb, and found is the past participle of the verb find. If we want to make it negative, we simply add not in between the helping verb and the main verb. So I have not found my keys, but most often the negative form will be a contraction. So I haven't found my keys. So in the contraction, we have connected the helping verb and the word not together. We've also got another choice here. We can also contract the helping verb with the subject. So we could say, I've not found my keys. So we've contracted the helping verb with the subject. Now, when we're talking about the negative, this form will probably be more common than this form. We can use either one, but most of the time I think people will use haven't or hasn't. Now let's look at the main verb. Like I said, the main verb could be tricky because we're using the past participle form of the main verb. Now, just like with the past simple, we've got regular verbs and irregular verbs. So the regular verbs for the past participle will simply use either the D or the ED ending or the IED ending, just like the past simple. So walk becomes walked, ask becomes asked, like becomes liked, love becomes loved, copy becomes copied, try becomes tried. So these are regular past participle verb forms, just like the past simple. The irregular verb forms, however, can look like either the past simple or they can take a different form. So for example, the past participle of be is been. Have becomes had, do becomes done, say becomes said, make becomes made, go becomes gone. Now these ones here with the little star, the asterisk, these ones are different than their past simple form. So for the be verb, the past simple form is either was or were, but the past participle form is been. For do, the past simple is did, but the past participle is done. For go, the past simple is went, but the past participle is gone. So you can see these ones are different, whether they're the past participle or the past simple. Some other irregular verbs are take, which becomes taken, come becomes come. It doesn't change at all. See becomes seen. Get becomes gotten. Lose becomes lost. Find becomes found. And again, the ones with the star here, the asterisk, are ones that are different than their past simple forms. So take, the past simple is took, but the past participle is taken. Come, the past simple is came, but the past participle is come, so it just changes back to the O. See, the past simple is saw, but the past participle is seen. Get, the past simple is got, but the past participle is gotten. So for these irregular verbs, it's a little bit extra work because you have to learn the base form, the past simple form, and the past participle form. So the past participle is what we're using with the present perfect verb tense. Now, let's look at the difference between the simple past and the present perfect, because this can be one of the most confusing things about this verb tense. Like, when do we use the past simple or when do we use the present perfect? So we're going to look at the difference in meaning here between the two. So looking back at the reasons we use the present perfect, the first reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that happened in the past and is related to now. So I could say I have lost my keys. So if I say I have lost my keys using the present perfect, then that means this is either important now or I still haven't found them. But if I use the past simple form and say I lost my keys, then this is simply something that happened in the past. It's not necessarily important now, or there's probably still not lost. I'm just stating a fact about the past. I lost my keys. So this one is a very simple form. This one carries more meaning. It's meaning that this is important now or I still haven't found them. As another example, if I say I didn't find my keys, which is past simple, then that means this simply happened in the past and I probably stopped looking for them. So I didn't find my keys, past simple. But if I say I haven't found my keys, present perfect, then that means I still want to find them and I'm still looking for them. So we can see there's quite a difference between these two. I didn't find my keys and I haven't found my keys. The second reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that started in the past and continues until now. So if I say I have looked for my keys for over an hour, this is present perfect. I have looked for my keys for over an hour. That means that this is important now, or I'm still looking for them. If I say I looked for my keys for over an hour, past simple, then that means this happened in the past and it is not necessarily important now or not still happening. So there's not a huge difference. There's not a very, very big difference between these two, but this one here carries a little bit more meaning to it. I've looked for my keys for over an hour. That means that it's still important now or I'm still looking for them. I looked for my keys for over an hour. This happened in the past, but I'm not saying anything more than that. Okay, so sometimes people will use either one of these in this case, but there's not a big difference between the meaning. It's just that if I use the present perfect, it has a little bit more of a meaning to it because it's connected to now. Now, there can be a big difference in the meaning if I use the simple past versus the present perfect. So if I say I lived in Minnesota for 5 years, this is the simple past, then that means that this happened in the past and it is not still true. So I lived in Minnesota for 5 years. That means I don't live in Minnesota anymore. It was only true in the past. But if I say I have lived in Minnesota for 5 years using the present perfect, then that means I still live here. So sometimes there's not a big difference between past simple and present perfect, but sometimes there can be a very big difference between them, whether something is only true in the past or whether it's still true now. The third reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that happened in the past, but the time is not known or not important. So if I say, I lost my keys yesterday, this is simple past. I would use the simple past here because I'm saying that it happened yesterday, which is a specific time. So this happened specifically yesterday. So if you're talking about something that happened in the past and you're giving the specific time when it happened, whether the day that it happened or the week or the month or the year, if you're giving a specific time, then you want to use the past simple. But if you're trying to be more general, like I have lost my keys before now, then you want to use the present perfect. So I have lost my keys before. This happened sometime before now, but I'm not being specific when it happened. So we can see that here again, if we say I bought my car in 2015, because I'm saying the year that I bought it, I want to use the past simple. But I can't say I have bought my car in 2015. So we can't use the present perfect when we're giving a specific time in the past. We can, however, use it to show that the action has been continuing. So when you buy something, it happens one time. But to own something, for example, this is an extended period of time. So I can say I bought my car in 2015, or I can say I have owned my car since 2015. So the meaning of these sentences is basically the same, but what I'm doing is I'm changing the verb that I'm using to show different information. So I bought my car in 2015. This is telling specifically when I bought my car. I have owned my car since 2015. This is telling about how long that I've had it. So we can't use the present perfect with specific times in the past that something happened, but we can use it when we're talking about a period of time. So you can see the difference here in versus since. So in is a specific time. Since is talking about a period of time or a length of time. So you'll often see the present perfect used with either the word since or the word for. So I have owned my car since 2015. This is 2021, so that's 6 years, right? So I can say I have owned my car for 6 years. So I can use the present perfect when I'm giving a length of time. So I can say for 6 years or since 2015, but if I say in 2015, then I'm going to use the past simple. The fourth reason we use the present perfect is to talk about something that happened more than once in the past. So if I say I have lost my keys 3 times already this week, I'm using the present perfect because this happened 3 times in the past and it's relevant now, or it's important now. If I say I lost my keys 3 times this week in the simple past, then this simply means that it happened 3 times in the past, but it's not really important now. Okay. So this one is a very basic way to say it. It's a very basic form. Using the present perfect carries more meaning to it because it's showing that it's relevant now somehow. All right. So that's it for this lesson on the present perfect verb tense. I hope it was helpful for you. Thanks for watching.